We're back. Thank goodness we're back. It is time again for Formula One racing, and we're going to the Dutch Grand Prix Zandvoort this week. Hi everybody, Freddie Bz here. Thanks Kim for the hat. For the Dutch Grand Prix preview, and also just a couple of observations on up till now, what's going on. I think everybody was blown away, and huge news was Lewis going to Ferrari at the beginning of the year. Nobody expected that. He just signed a 2-year agreement with Mercedes. Nobody knew about the out clause, and I guess the out clause was, I'll stay with you for 2 more years unless I get a deal with Ferrari that I've been working on for months. And the deal with Ferrari came to fruition. They've been working on it, and it was huge. And the silly season started right then, before the first lap was turned. Because remember that there was not a single driver change from 23 to 24. Everybody thought that was very boring. So why not start 24 with the single biggest driver change probably in history? It's got to be huge, and it was huge. Cool was Oliver Burman in the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, coming in to take over for Carlos Sainz, who had an appendectomy. And then huge was Carlos Sainz coming back from that appendectomy in Australia to win the race. Unbelievable highlights there. First win was kind of boring because of the way he got it, not because it had anything to do with his talent, but because he got it reminiscence of how Rubens Barrichello had to give up the lead on the last lap, I believe, at an Indy F1 race. And it was brutal to watch that, so that Schumacher could win, and Lando had to give up a guaranteed win. He drove a good race, but because the strategy was supposed to favor Oscar, Oscar got the win by default. I just think that's a terrible way to win your first Grand Prix. Although it does give Oscar one more Grand Prix win than I have. Leclerc's Monaco win, probably for the Monegasque, outstanding. It was semi-huge. I'd say very, very cool. Certainly great for Leclerc. Great for Monaco. The race was a frickin' bore. The most fun about Monaco is Saturday is the qualifying. Qualifying is edge of your seat, really, really unbelievable. But the race itself pretty much plays out as it's qualified, although there were a couple of neat things in the race. Carlos Sainz finally getting to Williams was cool because it finally freed it up, but boy, it took so long. It was kind of a relief. It's like, well, at least he's got a ride for next year, and I think almost he feels like, well, at least I got a ride for next year. Sure, it's with the 8th worst team in Formula One, but at least I'll be driving. Now, I think Williams is on the ascension, and I think having Carlos Sainz and Alex Albon as the 2 drivers is certainly going to help that team. So, absolutely good move by Sainz. I feel bad, though, for Audi Sauber, because I was kind of hoping Carlos would go there. But, you know, they still have a shot. And I think the shot might be Valtteri Bottas. Guy's won 10 times. He knows how to win. He's been on a winning team. He brings a lot to that. And if you can put him and Hulkenberg together, they could do a lot to drive the innovation of that team as that team gets itself towards becoming a contender. Sergio Perez, who's my guy, was the most inconsistent driver so far this year. Had some just flashes of brilliance, followed by feats of stupidity, and then of course at Monaco, no fault of his own except for a poor qualifying effort. Gets caught up in Kevin Magnussen trying to become a hero on the first lap. Magnussen took out himself, took out Checo, and took out the Hulkster. But I will tell you this, for the Haas team, that was not a cheap weekend. It was a very expensive weekend, very little results. They did get a lot of airtime, though, for Haas, because the 2 wrecked cars did make for a lot of airtime during the telecast. So Max and Lando's pass at Austria and their wreck, that was one of the best, hugest moments this year. They were fighting for the lead. They were going for it. I kind of thought Max was due a penalty after it looked to me as he blocked Lando from getting under him after the initial contact, and Max was kind of drifting, and Lando was trying to get by him. It turned out to not matter at all because Lando had a puncture anyway, and they both retired the cars. But that was a huge wreck. It was a pretty damn good race, and there were some pretty good races going on as Max lost that dominance that he had in the first 4 races of the year and that he had all of last year. The parity is definitely coming, and I would say that while Red Bull still has an edge, McLaren's right on their heels, and then you could almost flip a coin between Ferrari and Mercedes-Benz depending on the weekend who is a 3rd or 4th, and who knows, Aston Martin might still be 5th, or it could be Haas. Quite frankly, it really could be. If Hulk can get, and Kevin can be safe, not get any more penalty points, and finish up strong for this year. Adrian Newey leaving Red Bull. Super huge. Very big. Every world championship that Red Bull's gotten is because of Adrian Newey and other things, but he has certainly proven, because he hasn't worked on that car. He's been on the hypercar project since he announced that he is leaving. Looks like he might be going to Aston Martin, although, and by the time this gets published, he may have already signed. And it's going to be an epic. He's going to get paid more than a ton of drivers for his. But you know what? It's nice sometimes to get paid for your schmats. You know what I mean? Adrian Newey going away. That is definitely huge. Could be a GOAT moment, if you will. Russell DQ'd in Belgium was just a huge stupidity on Mercedes' part. Russell earned a win and got it taken away from him, and it's a shame. We'll see how he bounces back coming into Zandvoort. I think he ought to be pretty good. And then finally, one of the biggest things is Jonathan Wheatley leaving Red Bull to become team principal at Audi. Okay, you already have Matteo Binotto going in there as basically he's not the team principal, he's the head of engineering or whatever. He's going to develop the motor, and those are the things that he does best. I wouldn't be surprised if Gunther Steiner doesn't show up there, because those two are really good friends. But Jonathan Wheatley going in to be the team principal, run the day-to-day operations of the team, I think is a great move for him, and I wish him all the best. So it looks like Audi is finally moving forward in terms of taking positive step to prove that they're very much here. So then it's on to Max's home race, going into the Heineken Dutch Grand Prix in Zandvoort, which is a great racetrack, 4.259 kilometers, which is 2.6 miles, twisty, fun racetrack with 14 corners. The race length is 72 laps. Last year in 2023, it was unbelievable because it was a race that had rain, drizzle, rain, pouring down rain, dry conditions all throughout the 2 hour or so that the race was being run. That's what made it an unbelievable race. Max, again, came out on top. Fernando Alonso, with an incredible drive, came in second. Pierre Gasly, third, after Sergio got a 5-second penalty for a pit stop speed violation. He crossed the line third, but he didn't have a 5-second gap on Gasly, who was fourth, so they swapped spots, and Gasly got the podium, and Perez got fourth. Did well on the track, although he did have an off. So did Zhou Guanyu. He hit hard. He had a big wreck. Yuki went off. Just about almost everybody probably went off, because that race last year, it was about tire timing and strategy. One of the best strategies right up front was Perez on lap 1, not even complete, came into the pits immediately to get intermediates, and then absolutely dominated the field and got out to a big lead. Then it got dry, and other teams, they went to intermediates, they went to full. The strategies were all over the place, and it seemed to me that the person who could get on the dry tire at the right time was the one that was going to win that race. So, the really cool thing about this track too is it got some deep corners. It's got a bank turn in turn 3, but that's where, I want to say that's where Daniel Ricciardo broke his wrist last year, because they mixed the thing up. And so Liam Lawson actually ran that race last year because Ricciardo was out of the race because he, in practice, got into an accident and didn't take his hands off the wheel. If you're ever in a race car and you're going to hit the wall, and you're in an open wheel car, even if you're in a stock car, pull your hands back, because you don't want your hands, your thumbs, to be on that wheel when the suspension cranks that thing and pops your wrist. It's something you learn once. You don't have to be reminded. Unfortunately, Daniel forgot to pull his hands back, broke his wrist. May have destroyed his career, quite frankly. Who knows? Okay, so who's going to win this race? It's going to be an incredible race. It's great to have Formula One back. It's Max's home race. I got to say, he's got to be a favorite. He has to be a favorite at any race that he actually shows up with. And then you have the McLarens, who are really showing some interesting dominance. And you got to see that the Mercedes, obviously, especially based on the last race, are dominating, or not dominating, but are obviously competitive. So it's going to be, I gotta say, probably Red Bull, Mercedes-Benz, and McLaren on the podiums. And I don't know how they will work their way out. But let's put it this way: if it's a dry race, I'm thinking, surprisingly, it could be Lando Norris could win with McLaren, because I think McLaren has got, at least they're competitive enough, and I know Lando Norris is fast enough to get a pole. So I'm going to give him first, give him Max second, and I'm going to say that Lewis Hamilton is going to come in third. And I would put a Ferrari in the top 5, perhaps, maybe, and I would say that Haas is going to get some points this time, and I don't know about Alpine. I'll say Alpine's getting close to getting sold. Now, who they're going to sell to, I don't know. I think the team's probably worth $1 billion, and you've got Ryan Reynolds and his crew that owns 24%. So for $750 million, does Andretti come in, buy